Sacred texts, twisted views. Time to separate lies from truth. Not here to burn, but here to see what survives when the mind breaks free. Deconstruct, analyze, open hearts, open eyes. If it falls, let it be. What remains is meant to be. Cyber deconstruction, let's get real. Faith when challenge starts to peel. If it's built on solid ground, why is it scared to stick around? Not for hate, but for the wise. Truth won't shatter, only lies. Time to start the conversation. Now ain't the time to pretend nothing happened.
Hello, 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 hello. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. How is everybody doing today? Welcome to everybody over on YouTube. Welcome everybody on TikTok. I'm hoping I do. But we are ready to go. We've got the guest boxes open. How are you doing, F Dot? How are you doing, Hanji? Got a Bad Religion here. We've got Hanji in. Rhonda Young, Shadow Boss is in. We've got Double Donkey. We've got Knight in here. If you're not following Knight, leave your YouTube channel in the chat on TikTok as well. Go give Knight a follow as well. And then Knight, if you want as well, hop on over to my YouTube channel and feel free to leave your YouTube channel in there as well. Make sure you go follow Knight's YouTube channel as well. And I should be able to receive super chats now on YouTube. So YouTube, I will read the super chats in between guests. How are you doing, Hanji?
I'm exhausted, but I'm reading.
Oh, I am hearing an echo. Oh, I am hearing an echo from Hanji. Let me see if we can get that fixed. Hanji, can you go ahead and talk one more time?
Oh. Can you hear me now?
I am still getting a I don't know why I am getting.
I do have my TV on in the background.
You have what?
Oh, I can hear myself again.
Yeah. That I don't know why. We'll try that, and then we'll hop over here to this audio source. Go ahead and say something, Hanji.
Peekaboo.
Nope, that's... Oh, this one here actually is probably going to... I had things for the most part done, and then I decided to try to do another audio cable to hook up some other things.
Mm-hmm.
Try now, Hanji.
Yo ho ho and a bottle of rum. Tiny rar.
Hanji, I don't know. I might need to go solo on this one, and then tomorrow we'll probably need to figure out why. Oh, I got one.
Or I can just stay mute.
I got one more thing to check here real fast in my audio settings over here. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. So I'll probably need to run solo Hanji tonight till I can actually go through and figure out why it keeps doing this. With you specifically, it's only TikTok that I have this issue with.
That's weird.
All right. So we are back. Unfortunately, we won't have Hanji tonight. I am going to need to really figure out why TikTok keeps doing that. I don't know why. I don't change anything. I literally don't change my settings because I leave them alone. So we'll be here. So the question is, why is the Christian God a sick fuck? If you disagree, hop on up. Let's chat about it. I would love to hear your argument about it. So hop on up and let's definitely talk about it. Let's see here. And we do have the link is open. It is open here. Hanji, if you do want to come in, try coming over on Video Ninja, and we could I can have you live there. Now, is this a different? Do I have a different audio cable right here? Oh, that's the same audio cable. All right, so let's keep tapping that screen, sharing the live. Christians, I genuinely want to know, why is the Christian God sick fuck? Hop in the box. Let's talk about it. Come on over to Video Ninja. Definitely talk about it. Definitely talk about the genocides. Talk about the slavery. Talk about children being punished for the sins of their father. Talk about women being viewed as less than. Definitely talk about women being forced to marry their rapists. We'll definitely talk about all of these things. But I do need Christians to hop on up and come on up and talk about it. I would love to hear your argument for it. All right, we're going to go ahead and see if we can get Hanji brought on over here.
Can
Hello,
you hear me
Hanji.
now?
I can hear you.
Is this better?
Yep. And TikTok, can you guys hear Hanji? If you can hear Hanji, put ones in the chat on. Right. And over on YouTube, if you can hear Hanji, let me know. If you can hear Hanji over there as well. And I need
There we go.
to yes. Also for TikTok, we're also going to have TikTokers go to tinyurl.com/cyberguest. Go there as well. And I will be able to bring you up there as well. And then, and Hanji, I'm also going to need to figure it out because, with TikTok potentially going gone, I'm gonna have to redo how I do my background just a little bit, depending on what the future for YouTube is going to be. How you doing, Miss Michelle?
Hey guys, if you want to show me love and support, check out the link in my bio because I cannot be on TikTok tonight. So you can show me lovies that way instead of gifts. Unfortunately, I still echo or you guys don't hear me at all on TikTok.
Yeah, I'm trying to see. So let's see. still taking a look. She didn't do anything. So OBS, I'm not a fan of OBS, and it keeps giving me issues with trying to have YouTube and TikTok together. And so something that I am still trying to work out on that. If I'm going to keep working on it, if I can get Hanji back in it, that would be awesome. Because with Hanji being on TikTok, it allows you all to gift her. But over there on YouTube, we have XX Lola. I would love for I'm absolutely down with op. But if you want to come up, it's tinyurl.com/cyber-guest. Go on, click that, come on in. Would love to chat with you. You can come on in and we can definitely talk about. Would love to talk with you about it. So far though, we haven't had anybody give us any good explanations as to why we should support this god. Any good reasonings for why he's a sick fuck? We haven't heard any good explanations for this. And I'm just curious if we're going to get one. I would love to get one. Yeah, absolutely. Jesus was never a king. In fact, if we go and we read in the Bible, you'll learn that in Matthew, he actually comes from a cursed line. 100% cursed line, could never have been on the throne at all. And the fact that Christians like to somehow think he was is just weird. It's goofy. Like, quit being goofy. See. And Hanji, are you able to see on Video Ninja? Are you able to see who's all in there?
Um, I can see chat, but that's about it.
Okay. I'd say if somebody pops in, you'd probably be able to see somebody popping in there and be able to inform me that somebody is in there.
Okay.
Here, can you talk really fast again?
Okay.
All right. So that is a virtual cable. Sorry, I'm just
The only
looking
sucky
at.
part is that I can't see chat on TikTok. I have to choose either or.
Well, that's why I'm still looking at this. You know what? Try hopping back onto TikTok, and I'm gonna see if maybe I fix something. It may not have, but we'll take a look for you.
Okay, I'm coming.
Unfortunately, though, with this, while I'm working with things with Hanji, I'm not able to, or I'm not gonna hold the live. We'll keep the live going. See if I'm able to. How you doing, Hanji?
Boo.
Can chat? Can you hear Hanji? If you heard Hanji, let me know. Okay, so they can hear you. They can hear you.
Yay!
And I just need to know if YouTube can hear you. Looks like YouTube can hear you too. All right, we got that fixed. And you're clear. We got that fixed. All right.
Yay! Tiny rat.
So I had to change the audio primary speaker to my headphones for weird reasons.
Are you planning on getting over the ear headphones instead?
I might. But we got it. So you know what we do once we got it? We leave it the fuck alone.
Exactly. Don't touch it. Don't touch nothing.
And then we just wait for people to come on in. All right, so now we can have people come up on YouTube. People can come up on YouTube now. Yes, Rhonda prayed for it.
Praise Zeus.
Yep. So, I do have some exciting news in the works in the future. I'm not at liberty to 100% disclose it right now, but there's somebody that we all know. We're going to be working together, and it's going to be fantastic. But we've got some awesome things in the works. Mike, I am doing fantastic. I'm doing fantastic.
It's you and Jaren.
No, maybe. Um,
I knew it.
so, but we've got some things in the works, and we've been talking. We've got some things settled on. But we're gonna do an announcement for that. I just need to talk with him about when we're actually gonna do that. But it's gonna be awesome. I think you all will really enjoy it. God ain't a monster, bud, from the cone guy. From the cone guy. Well, unfortunately, God is a monster, and I'm not your bud, guy. So hop on up. Let's talk about it. You can come on over again if you want to talk about it over from or YouTube. It's tinyurl.com/cyber-guest. Click that link. Come on over. We can definitely talk about it. I will give you all the time to support your God and why you feel he's not a sick fuck. So hop on up. Let's talk about it. And to all my Jewish brothers and sisters, I hope for those of you that are still religious, you are thoroughly enjoying the cleansing of your kitchens right now. For those who don't know, in Judaism, with Passover, there are special rules with Passover for kosher. There's certain foods that are normally kosher except for Passover. And there are some foods that are kosher for Passover, but certain requirements need to be met. Passover has its unique kosher rules to it. And part of this is like a kitchen purification. So right now, propane companies are absolutely loving the Jewish community. There's probably going to be some house fires because we purify our kitchens during this time of year. And so for those who are Jewish, you'll be able to speak up, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. So it's a great time and lots of paper to cover those counters afterwards. Yep, steam clean. Yeah, you literally steam clean the kitchens. If it can take a fire, you take a fire to it. If it can take it, if it can take it. But yep, we purify it. What is this? Well, this isn't a thumbnail. This is a background. Thank you for the hat and mustache. This isn't a background. This isn't a thumbnail. This is a background that says, why is the Christian God a sick fuck? Christians, I believe the Christian God is an absolute monster, an absolute despicable sick fuck who has no worthiness at all of any worship. If you disagree, hop in the box. I would love to chat with you about it. The thought and purpose behind the cleanliness, it is just in case there are things that you have had. For example, bread. There's special like matzah. Matzah is like the bread you use for Passover. And so if like you've had any other breads, you can't have any residue of those on, any flavors, nothing like that. It's mainly to get rid of any flavoring that might have seeped into your counters that might get on your food. It's more of a superstition thing, but alas, it's what we do. We're Jews. It's what we do. But yeah, so we're still waiting. If we can get some Christians coming on up, that would be amazing. So far, though, it seems like the Holy Spirit is weak tonight. Don't have anybody with the Holy Spirit, nobody on YouTube. There's a whole 144 people on YouTube right now, and not a single person wants to come up and give this a go. Again, would love to chat with you about it. No, I do not keep kosher. In fact, during this time of year with Pepsi, Gentiles love this time of year if you go like the Costco place, because artificial sweeteners are not permissible during Passover. You can't have them for Passover. You can only have actual sweeteners like actual sugar. So Pepsi and Coke and stuff make this for Passover, and they'll put a special bottle cap on it. And the Gentiles
is that the one with
love
the
it.
yellow top?
It is. It is.
Ah, my friend was telling me about that. I didn't even know she was Jewish. I thought that was so cool.
Wait, who was that?
Oh, a friend of mine from my gothic clubbing days. I didn't even know she was Jewish, and she was just like, "Oh, if anyone can, find where these Coca-Cola bottles are," and it had the yellow top, and I'm like, "What's the difference?" And she's just like, "Oh, it's kosher for Passover." I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh shit!" I didn't
Yep, it is. It is because of the sugar in it. It needs to be real sugar, and don't trust me. Don't try asking me about all the kosher laws. All I would do is I don't try and see if I have one here. So you have what's called a hashgacha on food. It's a hashgacha.
who?
It's a little U with a circle on the can. It's really small, and that tells us it's kosher. But there's going to be different symbols that tell us different things. So if you see the U circle with a P, it's Passover. It's good for Passover. And so
No way.
yep. And so like for example, does Pepsi have one? Pepsi does not have one. So it lets us
I can
know
check
that
my
that
Dr.
is
Pepper.
so that lets us know that it is kosher, and if it's a circle U, and it'll let us know like if there's a P on it, it'll let us know if it's kosher for Passover. So those are things that's really important. Same thing, yeah. How when it comes, especially when it comes to Passover kosher rules, it's always like, Rabbi, you're going grocery shopping with us for Passover, because I got no idea what I'm shopping for. But yes, if you do want to talk, again, the link is tinyurl.com/cyber-guest. Go into that link, make sure you have an earbud in, hop on over, we can definitely talk. And while we are waiting, we do have a super chat from the True Image, or from a True Image of Christ. And then we've got another one for $4.99. So thank you so much. I've got a $9.99 super chat and a $4.99 super chat. Thank you so much for those. We're gonna go ahead and bring Brian on up from over to YouTube. And
Go Cyber, go. Go
Yep. And
Cyber, go
Hanji,
Cyber, go.
let me know if you can hear them, because with me doing those, I don't know if you'll be able to hear them. Brian, how are you doing today?
Pretty good, thank you.
Yep. Hanji, can you hear him?
Yep, loud and clear.
All right. And Brian, can I get your age?
18.
Well, when did you graduate high school?
When do I graduate?
Uh-huh.
June 26th.
That's a whole ass child. Children, please make sure that the fetus is you've been delivered. Please make sure that placenta has been out and that umbilical cord has been duly severed. And just know that when you are an adolescent and you are trying to deepen your voice, it makes a unique sound that everybody knows. Your ancestors heard that deep voice that you were trying to do, and they facepalmed themselves. They straight up facepalmed themselves in whatever afterlife you think they're in. And Twisted Scriptures, thank you so much for stopping by. Even though you do have a low battery, I greatly, greatly appreciate that. And also, likewise, over on YouTube, if you do leave super chats, if I'm in the middle of a debate, I will read them between the debates. But if I get left one now, I will read the message out. And so while we are waiting, because we don't have anybody up, let's go ahead and read some of these. Hanji, what is your favorite? And I mean that like not in a good way. What is your favorite worst bit that Yahweh does?
Oh, it's an Isaiah passage. I had it written down, and I, for the life of me, cannot find it because I wanted to look at it. Oh, but it was Isaiah something about, oh, I don't know, having babies' heads bashed against,
Oh, we can read that. So fun fact about that. So that's not like saying like the baby's heads were actually bashed. It was like Israel, you need to do these things, and if you don't, it is as if but I still don't understand why that would be used. That's going to be Psalms 137. So we'll go ahead and read Psalms 137 because I think it is pretty disgusting that this imagery would be used. That for out of all the imagery that can be used, that Yahweh is like, hey, we're gonna give you this imagery. So let's get this brought up on the screen. And so it's going to be lamenting over the destruction of Jerusalem. By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down, and there we wept. When we remembered Zion on the willows, there we hung our harps. For there our captors asked for us songs, and our tormentors asked for mirth, saying, sing us one of the songs of Zion. How could we sing the Lord's song in a foreign land? If I forget you, O Jerusalem, let my right hand wither. Let my tongue cling to the roof of my mouth if I do not remember you, if I do not set Jerusalem above my highest joy. Remember, O Lord, against the Edomites, the day of Jerusalem's fall. How they said, tear it down, tear down its foundations. O daughters of Babylon, you devastator. Happy shall they be who pay you back what you have done to us. Happy shall they be who take your little ones and dash them against the rocks. So, but yeah, is there any other verses? One thing that I really like to drive home, and I don't think it's something that Christians really take seriously. So Christians, when they read these, they tend to not realize that these individuals are potentially real people. Real people. These aren't people that are just, in a fairy tale story in their worldview. These are real people. And something that I really like to read, that I like to drive home, because I think it is extremely important when we read this, and that people realize how this specific set of scriptures in Job actually came to be. People, for some reason, have this idea that like there was God and Satan just chilling there. They're just hanging out, And then Lucifer starts up this story about, hey, that guy Job. That's not how this happened. So if we read and we find out how this happened, right? So this is going to be in Job chapter 1. We're going verse 6. One day the heavenly beings came to present themselves before the Lord. And let me check something here. Okay, we are there. And the accuser also came among them. So this is them. They're in heaven. They're going to the throne. They're at the throne room of God. And Lucifer is there. That's the first thing that's important. Lucifer is in the throne room of God. The Lord said to the accuser, "Where have you come from?" So he's not like, "Get out of here, Lucifer." No, he's genuinely asking him questions. "Where have you come from?" The accuser answered the Lord, "From going to and fro on the earth, and from walking up and down on it." The Lord said to the accuser, "Have you considered my servant Job?" So Lucifer at this point hasn't instigated anything. He's literally just minding his own business, and the Lord comes up and says, "Hey, where have you been? I haven't seen you for a hot minute. Where have you been?" "Oh, I've been walking all over the place. You know that place down there? I've been walking around." And then God says, "Hey, come here, a little closer. My servant Job, have you considered him? There's no one like him on the earth, blameless and upright. A blameless and upright man who fears God and turns away from evil." Then the accuser answered the Lord, "Does Job fear God for nothing? Have you not put a fence around him and his house and all that he has on every side? You have blessed the work of his hands, and his possessions have increased in the land. But stretch out your hand now, touch all that he has, and he will curse you to your face." Now, keep in mind, all Lucifer is doing here is saying, literally, the only reason why he is this righteous man is because you have given him everything. You've blessed him, you've given, and all Lucifer is asking him to do is take that away. He's not talking about unaliving anybody, nothing like that. He's just like, all this stuff that you've given him, just go and touch it. Cause it to not work the way it's supposed to, and watch him turn against you. And says, "And he will curse you to your face." The Lord said to the accuser, "Very well, all that he has is in your power." So God is doing what Christians tend to do, is he's burden shifting. He doesn't want to do it himself, right? So he's burden shifting. He's putting the burden on the accuser. All that he has is in your power. Only do not stretch out your hand against him. So the accuser went out from the presence of the Lord. And we learned that he did all these things. He took his family. He took everything from Job. All because God wanted to make a bet.
But did you hear what you just said, Cyber?
What's that?
He walked away from the presence of the Lord. According to Christians, Satan shouldn't even be able to be in his presence.
Oh, yep. Absolutely. We're going to bring up a guest real quick. We do have Judas. So let's get Judas on up here. How you doing, Judas? Judas, you are live and on the air.
Justice for Judas.
I'm going to go ahead and we're going to reset this scene. We're going to try to add him to the scene again. We'll see if we can get him added in. Judas, are you there? Judas, come down off the tree. We need to talk to you first.
He's just hanging out.
He is hanging out. Literally. All right, Judas. Well, if you decide you want to come on up, come back up. I'd love to chat with you. But I do need to keep moving on. But yes, Judas definitely did not want to have a chat. And again, I can't stress enough, if you see Knight in the chat or on YouTube, go give Knight a follow. Knight, feel free to jump between here and YouTube. I want to make sure we're pushing out Knight as much as possible so that we can get him going on YouTube as well. I don't know what his plans are for YouTube, but I know he's been trying to get his subscriber count up. So go give Knight a follow. And real quick, we're going to read another super chat. We got 199. We got 199 from the True Image of Christ. His super chats aren't saying nothing, but True Image of Christ. But I'm appreciating the super chats. Man, maybe
So proud of you. You can get super chats now.
I am fully monetized now, so I'm excited. I'm fully monetized now, so I'm super excited. So I don't know quite yet how the ads work. I do know that if people are on YouTube Premium members, the longer they watch the stream, I get a cut of that. But I don't know how like the actual ad sharing works yet. They don't really explain that to you, so I don't know how that works yet. But we'll try this one. This one tends to get the people going. It's provocative. But let me adjust. Let me adjust that link location though. Sheesh. We got to put it there because that's how you ensure Jesus stays shut the fuck up. All right, True Image of Christ. Oh, you are Judas. I'm trying to chat. I have never used this before. Thank you for the $5. All right, Judas. So what you're going to do is make sure you have earbuds in, and when you go to Video Ninja on your end, it's going to give you the option to select your camera and your microphone. Normally, it's going to be your phone. So just make sure you have and it should have those selected like by default. And then you'll pop up in my guest box. And then all I do is I enable it to bring you over. So give it a go again. If not, if you're still struggling, if you can get on TikTok, come hop over on TikTok. Just leave a message in the chat and just say, hey, I'm Judas, and I can bring you up. But try typing the link in again. You were there. I was trying to talk to you. You just weren't responding. Let's see. What are some other? You know what, Knight? What is your favorite horrific story in the scriptures, Knight? I want to see what Knight has for his favorite horrific story as told in the scriptures.
Cyber question.
Yes.
The fire in Rome. The date?
What about the fire in Rome?
Yeah, what's the date for the fire in Rome?
Oh, let me go look that up. So the day for the fire in Rome was July 18th, 64 CE.
First century?
First century, yep, 64.
So I'm watching something. It's called Unearthed. They think Nero set fire to Rome.
Yeah, that's something that's been around. So they don't know who did it, but the idea is that Nero might have done it. They don't actually know who did it, but like one of the myths is that Nero set fire and then was playing his lyre while it burned. There's rumors saying that like an imposter looked like him and caused the fire, and he also knew how to play the lyre like Nero did.
I'm
And so
just asking because I'm currently watching a series called Unearthed. It came out in 2016, but it's kind of funny because they're saying that he did this because he wanted to basically rebuild Rome for the elite only. And I find that really interesting. I don't know. I thought you would get the kick out of that.
Yeah, possibly. All right, Judas, I have you brought back over. Can you hear me? Let me check your audio settings. So you have your AirPods in. Let's try to refresh your earpods. Try unmuting yourself. I'm still not able to hear you.
Tiny, rar.
Let me see if you have another. Let's try your iPhone microphone. See if that works. I can't hear you, Judas. I am incapable of hearing you right now. I can try. I'm gonna try something, Hanji, because maybe this is an issue. So I'm gonna try something. So Hanji, can you go ahead and mute because it might cause you to echo. I'm hoping this ain't it, but I can't hear him, so I'm just checking this real fast. You there, Judas? You there? I still cannot hear Judas. So I don't know what. Here, Hanji, hop off here real quick and go to Video Ninja real quick, because you didn't have problems. You were able to get on there without issues.
Okay.
Judas has betrayed. I don't know why I'm not able to hear Judas. Like nothing's changed. Hello, Judas. Still can't hear Judas. Get Hanji up here real quick. See if I'm able to hear Hanji. Hey, Hanji, you can hear me, right?
By Zeus. Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to try something real quick. Chat, you can hear Hanji right now, right? You can hear Hanji, right? Hanji's on Video Ninja. So can you count to 10, Hanji?
Yo.
Okay, so they can hear you. I'm
Yeah.
going to try. So I'm going to try this real fast. Make sure you guys can still hear Hanji, because this will let me know if it's an issue with Judas.
Oh, sorry.
All right, can you guys still hear Hanji? Hanji, count to 10.
Probably heard that. They probably heard that loud ass burp I just did. Nothing.
Okay, so they can hear you. Okay, go ahead and drop down, Hanji. That just let me know all I needed to know.
Okay.
All right, so that's not on our end. Unfortunately, that is on Guess end. That was on Judas's end. Get Hanji brought back over here. Yeah, I tried, Judas. I tried. Right, we've got two people we're bringing up. We got Hanji and Jake.
Video, the radio star. Jake, can we have your age for TikTok TOS, please?
Yeah, 26.
Okay, and are you a Christian?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We believe Christianity is false. Can you prove us wrong?
You said I'm sorry, what'd you say?
We believe that Christianity is false. Can you prove us wrong?
I mean, I can help. Just at least have a discussion. I guess I wanted to make one comment and then also ask a question. So I think a little bit, maybe this was like 10 minutes ago or so, you guys were talking about Psalm 137. And how it says, "Happy is he who takes your little ones and dashes them against the rocks." Correct. And so your stance is that, like, okay, God is not really in the right here for saying something that way. Am I correct in saying that?
Well, so the understanding is that that Jerusalem has been destroyed, right? And so, like, being Jewish, like, I understand the sentiment. I just don't think that any imagery, and to be clear, God didn't write Psalms. Psalms are written by David and a few others. So, like, I don't believe God wrote it. It was written by David. But I don't think the idea of imagery of bashing children against rocks, I think that's a bit much for, like, an all-loving
Yeah,
God.
that's what I was kind of confused about, because at first I thought you were like, oh, well, that was kind of God saying that, and so at least you admit that it's not.
Correct.
That's what I'm saying, is that that was written by a human being.
Yes.
Right. So and human beings are fallible. So I mean, and it also is an analogy, and in a human mystic perspective, it's more of an eye for an eye in that sentiment. Would you agree?
Yeah. I know what they're talking about. Like, I get what they're talking about. My main point is, like, Christians will like to point that out because they'll be like, the children being bashed, and it's like, it's a song that God doesn't purport to have written that. Now, with that said, though, one of the big issues that I do have also with that, those like yourself, you're aware that God didn't write that. But then we'll have, like, other psalms, like Psalm 22, where Christians will be like, "But it's a messianic prophecy," and we're like, "No, it's not. It's literally not."
Yeah.
So.
Right. Right. So I just wanted to kind of clarify that, the one that we were talking about earlier. And so the question I kind of wanted to just start with is, and this can be for both of you, is, I understand you you believe Christianity is false, but let's just put that aside just for a moment. Let's say that Christianity, in your opinion, was true. Let's just say that it was 100% true. Everything was real, and Jesus is God. My question is to you: would you then choose to follow Jesus, or would you still deny him, knowing that it was 100% true?
That I think is extremely difficult to answer. Is because
For me,
the reason why I say is we don't pick what we believe, right? We literally don't. It's either you have been provided enough evidence and you do believe, or you have not been provided enough evidence and you're just not convinced. And it's something that we just don't pick and choose to believe. But when it comes to things that we believe in, if I did believe that Jesus, and keep in mind, I'm a mythicist, so I don't even believe Jesus himself actually existed, right? But if I did believe that Jesus was the Mashiach, I don't know how I'd react. The Messiah, as told, the Christian view of the Messiah is not the Jewish view of the Messiah. So I can't. I don't know. I don't know how I would answer that.
Okay. Yeah, I always just find it like the reason I ask it is because it lets me know where your heart may be. Because it's hard for me to have a conversation with somebody who would openly deny Jesus, know and in their heart knew also that he was 100% real and true and is God, right? So wouldn't you, I mean, just putting yourself from my perspective, you could see how that would be a conversation difficult to navigate.
Yeah, no, and I think that anybody, because it's easy to say, it's easy to look at something that you don't believe in, and it's easy to say, well, if I did, I wouldn't do it. It's easy to do that, but once you have that belief, you never know what that belief will cause you to do. Right? So that's why I say I just don't know. I don't know how I would be if I believed. But what caused me to down my road of non-belief, and I'll cover these with you. What actually caused me on my route to deconstruction was so we've got our glorious Jewish scripture here, and this has Torah readings that we do every day, along with readings from Rashi and some others. And so while I was doing my studies, when I was 16, I came across some verses that I found troubling. And so these verses that we are going to go into we're going to start right in Exodus 21. And this is kind of going to set the stage, but then we'll get into the meat potatoes, if that's okay with you.
Okay, and then just to also preface, I would say that just to give you an idea of where I'm at as well, I'm not claiming to be, you know, a theologian of any sorts, you know, in terms of really where I am, transparency. I know very little of the Old Testament and am in my journey of still trying to gain as much knowledge on that, you know, side of things as possible. So I'm 100% open still having this conversation, but just so you know exactly where I'm not claiming to know anything and everything. I would say that I'm probably more well versed in like apologetics when it comes to the New Testament and Jesus. But we can get there too. But like we can go with where you want to go first though.
Well, let me ask you a quick question. Do you believe that Jesus is God?
Yes.
All right. So when I say these, we're just going to replace the Lord with Jesus, right? Because you can do that. If you believe Jesus is God, then Jesus gave these commands as well, right?
I meant like the story of like the life of Jesus. You know what I mean? Like in terms, that's kind of what I meant. But yes, I understand.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to go to Exodus 21, and what we have in Exodus 21 is the law where God is saying, hey, when you buy the male Hebrew slave, he shall serve 6 years, but in the 7th he shall go out a free person without debt. If he comes in single, he goes out single. If he comes in married, then his wife shall go out with him. If his master gives him a wife, and she bears him sons or daughters, the wife and her children shall be her master's, and he shall go out alone. So essentially what we have here is I, as a male Hebrew slave, can sell myself into indentured servitude. And we'll cover that here in a little bit. I can sell myself into indentured servitude. Now, if I go in with a family, I get to leave with my family. If I go in single, I come out single. If I go in single and my master gives me a wife, or let's say I go in and I am married, I have a family, but my master still gives me a wife because polygamy was allowed, and he gives me a wife, well, then me and my family can leave, but the wife and any children that is born to her that my master gave me remains his. She doesn't get to go out free. But if the slave declares, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go out a free person, then his master shall bring him before God. He shall be brought to the post or the doorpost, and his master shall pierce his ear with an awl, and he shall serve him for life. And then you'll read here. So this is all according to the male Hebrews, and only the male Hebrews. But however, here in 7, when a man sells his daughter as a slave, she shall she shall not go out as the male slaves do, meaning that she does not get to go out on the year of Jubilee. So question I have for you real quick is, what are your views on slavery?
Yeah, slavery is definitely not favorable. It's not great.
Yeah, and Jesus and God commanded it. He's okay with it. He allows it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know if and like I said, this is just, you know, where I would need to do. I could give you probably a better answer had I had actually like studied this part of the Bible more. But I know that, and I know plenty have, and there's explanations for it and everything like that. So I'm not going to
they're horrible.
the best answer.
Any of the explanations that you hear are they're all horrible apologetics, and we'll get through this and then I'll tell you why. So now we're going to move into, because one of the big arguments that we get, in fact, my friend Knight, in his last debate, well, one of his last debates that I listened to before I got off work, one of his debates was somebody trying to say how this isn't the same type, this isn't chattel slavery. So what we have going on here, so this is in Leviticus 25, and what we have going on in Leviticus 25 is we have the year of the Jubilee. Now, the year of the Jubilee, we just talked about in Exodus 21, that's every 7 years there's a year of the Jubilee. And essentially what the year of the Jubilee is it's a big festival, and if you're an indentured servant, you get to go out free. And when you go out free, you get all your property back, right? You get everything back to you. And let me get this goal reset real fast. Thank you so much, Jason, for absolutely smashing the absolute frack out of that goal. It means so much to me. Whenever any of you guys smash these goals, that it really does. It helps Hanjian and I. And please make sure, if you're here, make sure you're following Hanji. Make sure you're gifting Hanji. Check Hanji's profile for her link tree and stuff. Definitely help her out. But what we have here is, so it's the year of the Jubilee. Now, where we're going to go with this, though, is we're going to come down here to verse 25. So we learned in Exodus 21 that this only applies to the male Hebrews. And we get this even further when we see the word kin. Now, you and I can both agree that whenever we see the word kin, that means somebody that's family or somebody that's close to you. So if you have a friend of you that's super close, you might consider him kin. So the way this works for indentured servitude starts in verse 25. If any of your kin falls into difficulty and sells a piece of property, so they've sold their property and now they're in what's called difficulty. And then we'll come down here to verse 35. If any of your kin falls into difficulty, so they're in difficulty already, now they're going to become dependent. So they've sold their property and now they're taking a loan. They're taking a loan out. Now with this, you're not allowed to charge them interest or anything. Now, in 39, let's say they've become dependent on you, that now they are impoverished, right? So they became, we'll come up here. They became up here. They became difficult. They became dependent, and now they're impoverished. That they sell themselves to you. You shall not make them serve as slaves. They shall remain with you as hired or bound laborers. They shall serve with you until the year of the Jubilee. then they and their children with them shall go back from your authority, and they shall go back to their own family and return to their ancestral property. For they are my servants whom I brought out of the land of Egypt. They shall not be sold as slaves are sold. But then we come down here to verse 44. As for the male and female slaves whom you may have, it is from the nations around you that you may acquire male and female slaves. You may also acquire them from among the aliens residing with you, and from their families who are with you, who have been born in your land. They may be your property. You may keep them as possession for your children after you, for them to inherit as property. These you may treat as slaves. Now remember, the Israelites, right here, you shall not make them serve as slaves, but then, and they shall not be sold as slaves are sold. But then down here, these you may treat as slaves. So we can see that there's a distinction here between the indentured servitude and chattel slaves. We can see the distinction here, correct?
Yeah, and I think it's also like important to maybe note, like, you know, when you're thinking about these people who are considered slaves, maybe what, you know, day to day perhaps looked like for them. You know, I think when our minds, you know, immediately think of slavery, we immediately think of like slavery that, you know, perhaps happened in America.
Don't go down that route. You don't want to go down that route.
Well, I'm just saying that's kind of where most people's minds perhaps go, is it not?
That's where it was at. Yeah, that's where it was at. In fact, back to Exodus 21, when a slave owner strikes a male or female slave with a rod, and the slave dies immediately, the owner shall be punished. But if the slave survives a day or two, there is no punishment, for the slave is the owner's property. And something that actually surprised me, this was something that really surprised me until somebody else pointed it out. Somebody else pointed it out to me, and I didn't believe it until I went to go look at it. But most of the chattel slavery laws in the United States actually followed these biblical laws. Like, for example, under Louisiana and a lot of the southern laws, the southern states, they followed the laws from France. They just copied the French laws. And under the Noir laws, so it's Noir, the Noir laws, it states
Noir.
that if, yes, thank you, Hanji. It states that if you are just out there just beating the shit out of your slaves can go free. The law allowed for your slaves to actually be freed. Under a lot of the laws, I'm not going to say every law, because I think there's some states that probably didn't have these, but most state laws actually prohibited you from unaliving your slaves. You weren't allowed to do it. However, the enforcement of those laws are a different story. Were those laws enforced? Completely different story.
Tyler, what do you
Yes.
think noir means what do you think noir means in French?
Yeah, I know it means black. It means black.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So it's the laws they had for those. I just have a hard time pronouncing it. I have a hell of a time pronouncing it. But
You got to
and-
parler français. You have to parler français.
and so yeah, so a lot of these laws, like even in the United States, you weren't allowed to like just go out and just unalive your slave just for the heck of it. Again, enforcement of those laws, they weren't enforced all that often. We don't have evidence. We don't have strong evidence of the laws actually being enforced, which means that yes, slave owners did unalive their slaves, but the laws as written did not allow it.
Okay.
And I was when I first heard about that, I was like, wait, what? And I had to do some research into it. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna go bring the Louisiana laws. I'm going to actually save those to my computer so I can actually bring those up where it states that. But yeah, I was completely baffled by that because I had been taught something completely different.
What were you
So
taught?
when people, yeah, so when, and the reason why I bring that up is a lot of times we'll have people that'll say, well, it wasn't chattel slavery. It's not like the slavery we had. No, it was the same thing. It was literally the same thing.
Well, what do you? So I'm confused. Like, if it's saying like you shouldn't kill your slave, you know, I'm sorry. Like, what were you taught? Like, what you were baffled because why?
Oh, I was under the impression that people could just go out into the fields and unalive their slaves on the spot. That's what I was under the impression. And then when I had somebody point out to me and they're like, no, that's not actually what the law says, and they showed me what the law says, and I was like, oh. But then they're like, now remember, just because that's what the law says doesn't mean that it was enforced. So I agree. The law was there in black and white. I don't think it was followed, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
But I bring that up though because people try to say that that there's a difference, and there's not. They're the
well, I'm
same.
just saying. Well, so if you're saying like if the law wasn't followed, I mean, then that's going against God's law, then correct? Or
Well, that's what I'm saying is so they followed this law. Most of their laws followed what the Bible said. So, for example, like right here in Exodus 21, when a slave owner strikes a male or female slave with a rod and the slave dies immediately, the owner shall be punished. But if the slave survives a day or two, there is no punishment, for the slave is the owner's property. So this means that I could absolutely beat the absolute matzah out of my slave, and as long as they lived 48 hours, I was good. I wasn't going to be punished.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and then so then my question to you then, what would be like? Because obviously we see also that there are plenty of other examples in the Bible that will contradict a lot of this as well, right? So we
We
can see on
don't.
there's no, but we do in terms of God leading the Israelites out of slavery in Egypt. So that's one example. There's another example where in Colossians where it tells the masters to treat slaves as equals. There's another
It doesn't
example
say to
where
treat them as equals.
in the Colossians verse.
Yeah, what's it say?
Let me pull it up.
Colossians 4:1.
Yeah, I believe that is it.
So yeah, we'll bring it up.
Okay.
And one thing to remember, and the reason why I think this is important, because so under Judaism, under the Mosaic law, you couldn't just unalive a slave. They had to survive at least 48 hours. However, under Roman law, it didn't matter if they were an indentured servant, what they were. You until they were actually freed, you could unalive them on the spot. And so the reason why I think this is important is a lot of Christians will read this, and they'll read here in Colossians 4 verse 1 where it says, "Masters, treat your slaves justly and fairly, for you know that you also have a master in heaven." Now, keep in mind, it says justly and fairly. It doesn't say, don't beat them, don't do these things. And so most scholars will agree that when it says treat them justly and fairly, it's referring to, hey, that old law, the new law that we're living under the Romans, where that allowing them to, they have to live at least 48 hours. That still has to happen. The Roman law says you can unalive them on the spot. Not allowed to do that. You got to treat them justly. Give them their 48 hours. That's what's just. So that's how most scholars are going to interpret that, what that means.
So okay.
So it's just make sure we're following the Mosaic law, not the law that the Romans let us follow. If that makes sense.
Sure. Here, let me go back. Yeah, so it says just. Let me see. I'm sorry. I'm just pulling up the verse. Provide your slaves with what is right and what is fair.
Which would be the law under God, because again, if you're a Christian or even Jewish, you believe that the law that God give is fair and just.
Okay. And then there's different interpretations to that verse. So then what about the actual Exodus, right? So what would you say? So if God really was, I mean, in your opinion, would you say that God is favorable to slavery then?
I think God is favorable to slavery. God allowed
If
the
God
Israelites.
if God is
allowed
favorable to slavery, I'm just saying, and so if God was favorable to slavery, then why isn't he consistent upon that? So he's
Because
consistent upon that in your example, in your interpretation, but then obviously he's not consistent where, he obviously the Israelites are being enslaved in Egypt and then he leads them out
correct, because the Israelites are his chosen people, right? Israel's his chosen people. And so he's the only one who can enslave them. So the Israelites are only enslaved when he wants them enslaved. So if we notice, he has them enslaved in Egypt. And then he sets them free. He has them enslaved in Babylon. And then he sets them free. They get enslaved in Persia. He sets them free. We get under Greek occupation. He sets us free, right? That's why we have Hanukkah.
Sorry.
We go under Roman occupation, in which we are absolutely decimated and destroyed. So it's not that he doesn't want to enslave his people. He very much wants the Jewish people enslaved. He enslaves us throughout Jewish history.
Oh, so you believe that it was God who put them in that spot in the first place?
Well, I'm an atheist, so I believe that humans are just horrible to each other, and that's how humans cope.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Well, no,
so
but we're
all
doing
of the
an internal
examples
critique
all of the examples that you just gave, though, were the Israelites getting them into that spot themselves, and then thus God saving them from that position.
No. I'm giving you an internal critique of your worldview, right? So it's a case of God told the Israelites, if you guys don't start acting right, you're going to go be put into captivity, exiled by Babylon. And then it happens. And in fact, when we read Deuteronomy...
Because why? Because why, though? Because why?
Well, correct. But he's the one who still put them there, right? He could have punished them any other way, but he still enslaved them, right? So it is when you guys are doing good...
It wasn't God who enslaved them, right? It was the people who, were actually enslaving them, though. It wasn't
They're
God
God's orders.
God
warned them against it. God didn't warn them as for a punishment. It's not.
He did.
God just not answer prayers for 100 years. I don't know. There's something lenient. No, go be slaves. I like that better. That sucks.
It's funny. It's also just it's interesting how you can always focus on the prayers that maybe God didn't answer for you, but how about the prayers that definitely
darling,
were
don't get
answered?
it twisted. I was never orthodoxy. I've never been orthodoxy. I've never been Christian. So let's get that clear. Second off, I am doing an internal critique on your worldview. Instead of, hey, let's not own other human beings as property. He could have done that, but he didn't. He sent his own worshippers to be slaves when he could have easily just been like, not too harsh. You know what? If you guys ask me for anything, you ain't getting shit for 100 years. That's my. But no, he doesn't do that. But
He did.
Forbid?
God
Yep.
definitely
No,
did
wait. No,
not
no, no. But here's
force.
the thing. Here's the thing. God literally says that you can have slaves, but it's a sin to mix fabrics. It's a sin to eat shellfish. It's a sin to work on a Saturday. But for some reason, when it comes to owning another human being, I don't know,
Well-
see, I legally blah.
Well, and let's remember too, the question that you proposed that we're talking to is you made it sound like that God doesn't like slavery because he let the Jewish people out of bondage, right? So now what you're doing is, as soon as I was like, well, it would appear that way, and I don't think you took Babylon or any of those into consideration, and as soon as I point those out, now you're doing like two goalpost shifts here. The first goalpost shift you're doing is where you're like, oh yeah, and so now you're recognizing those. So you're shifting your goalposts to accept those now, but then your goalpost shifting again to be like, well, but they deserved it, right? But that's not what's in question though. What is in question, what needs to be defended on your end is, why is God okay with slavery?
And that's what I'm trying to explain though, is that it is a contradiction. If you think that God is wholeheartedly okay with slavery, but shows countless times where he leads his people out of slavery because of their own wrongdoings, that's the confusing part. So if he
What's their
really
wrongdoing?
is for slavery, why would it, no, answer this question. If he was really for slavery 100%, why in the first place would he, or why even would he just lead them out? Why wouldn't he have just left them there?
Because he wants to be the one to rule the Israelites with an iron fist. He wants to be the one to put them into bondage and to pull them out, which he does time and time again, right? It is a case of, when the Israelites are doing what I want them to do, I will let them live in a period of no slavery, no bondage. But as soon as they step out of line, I am going to put them right back into bondage. Right? And so it is quite literally where the Jewish people with Yahweh are in perpetual slavery. It's in and out of slavery. And it just shows that Yahweh does like slavery. He enjoys slavery.
That I just can't, and I don't know. I just don't see it as God actually putting them in slavery because they messed up. It is their
That is
own
why they
free
go
will.
Into
It,
that,
it,
but he
but
chooses.
But
the
here's the thing,
punishment.
though. Here's the thing, though, is God isn't controlling their actions, right? Would you concede that God is not controlling their actions?
Correct.
Okay, so if you've conceded that God is not controlling their actions and they have the free will to either make the choice to follow him or not, and then the consequences of both be as they may, and it ends up that they end up in slavery because of not following his commands, then what do we have there?
Yeah, so let me ask you a question. Let's use this same logic where do you have children?
I do not.
All right, so I have children, right? And I don't spank my children, but let's say my children, we'll take my young sweet daughter, the only daughter that I have. That child tests my patience. Now, let's say.
Oh, yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Let's say she was to do something and then I absolutely unleashed on her and sent her to the hospital. Because now, is that her fault? I mean, she's the one who did whatever she did to get punished, but is it her fault she went to the hospital? Or is it my fault she went to the hospital? Whose fault is that?
No, I can see now where we're getting mixed up, because you think that the punishment, you think that so the way you're setting this up, and so I don't want to get this wrong, is that okay, so like Israelites don't listen to God, therefore God is the one actually making the other people who enslaved them actually do that act.
Correct. God is the one who gives
Okay.
them the punishment.
Okay,
Each of these
and then-
bondages
so the-
are
okay.
their punishment.
Okay. So honestly, I think we just have to disagree here, because I think that fundamentally we just disagree with that.
But that's not what the scriptures say. The scriptures quite literally make it clear that God punishes the Israelites through bondage, through exile. That is how they are punished. In fact, in Isaiah, in Deutero-Isaiah, it states that they suffered double. They suffered double because of their iniquity. And so God was going to march them out himself, right? It says this in Isaiah. It's kind of what Isaiah 53 is about. And he's going to march them out because they served double their punishment for their iniquity. So even God himself, through the prophets, state that, yes, this is their punishment. The slavery, the exile is their punishment. And they pay double for it.
Yeah, but it's not God inflicted. It's their own doing inflicted. That's where we disagree.
No, but God chooses the punishment, right? God could have
God-
punished them.
God knew
could
that
have-
punishment was going to happen. That's the thing. Is it's like, okay, here's an analogy that perhaps might be better. Is that, like, let's say your parents, for instance, let's say, okay, no running in the house, right? Why would they say that? Because they know that running in the house, especially for maybe a little toddler who's not, as equipped to run yet, is prone to falling, and they've seen it happen before, in which the toddler is now running fast through the house, they fall and they bonk their head and they cry. So then then they choose not to obey that order, fall, bonk their head, and cry, and therefore that's the punishment. Okay, so it's not the parent's affliction, it's the free will of the toddler to not listen to their parents as they do. So I mean, that's the way I'm just giving you my perspective, and that's why I think that we just will disagree in that.
No, because God's, if you go read Deuteronomy 28 has a bunch of curses that are given, and in these curses God states, and it's the warnings for disobedience, and in these he states that part of these is that God will cause your militaries to fail, right? It's not that God foresaw in the future and saw that your military just wasn't going to be good enough. God states that he will cause this. So if we go here, we'll bring up Deuteronomy 25 or 28:25. We'll get this brought up here. So right here we get where God says, the Lord will cause you. So the Lord will cause you to be defeated before your enemies, and you shall go out against them one way and flee before them 7 ways. You shall become an object of horror to all the kingdoms of the earth, right? And so God says, like, no, when you guys do these things, this is what's going to happen to you. I will not let you win. You will go to war against them, and I will cause you to lose. So this isn't a case of God saw that their disobedience and they just weren't going to win, right? It's not like Israel saw the superpower Babylon over there and Nebuchadnezzar with all his glory and advanced technology, and they decided to go start slinging rocks at it in hope that they would penetrate that. No, God quite literally was like, yeah, your slings are going to fail. You're not going to go anywhere. And he caused the kings to decide to go to war. God caused this. It's the punishment that God gives.
Yeah, and I just think that it's not as if I would argue that sorry, I lost my train of thought. But it's
and I'll be right. I'm still.
I'm sorry. I'm
listening.
I'm sorry at the words like when the Lord causes you. Oh wait, sorry.
He said he'll be right back, but he's still listening.
Sorry,
okay.
I can still hear.
Oh, sorry. So yeah. I think it's more in terms of like the Lord is not going to support your denial, essentially. So why would, because we see it time and time again in the Old Testament, when I was reading in it, that in order for the Israelites to actually, quote unquote win, for lack of a better term, in their own situation of what they may be in, they could only do it through God. So like without God, they're not going to win. With God, they're going to win. And that's essentially, the broader spectrum of like the message here, and the whole point is that of the Bible is that, we are strengthened through God, and all things are only possible through him, with him, not, with him, against him. Correct. So that is kind of like when the Lord will cause you, it's more of the fact that they're not choosing to use him versus they're choosing not to use him. Right. So therefore, why would God bless that?
Well, yeah, but it still doesn't change the fact that God is causing the war. Like, you don't have to agree with it, but God's still causing the slavery. God is still the cause of the slavery. Sure, they may have done stuff to bring the wrath, but they are still deserving the war.
Yeah, and we'll just have to disagree, because there's countless other areas in the Bible. I mean, you're definitely, like, I would say we're in one section of the Bible, and there are 65 other books that would sort of counter argue with the notion that God is like sick, or he's bad, or he's for slavery, he's this and that. There are.
There's a
I
lot
could
worse
sit here
things he's done.
like let's just say this. Like, if I was sitting in your seat, and I'm like, as you are here trying to bring up certain areas of the Bible to prove that God is not good, I could also be sitting in your seat giving you 10 times more of, in my opinion, God being a great person. Correct? Could I also be on that same kind of area that you're in?
Yeah, give me, and we'll include Jesus in this. Give me where God is good. Give me a good thing God did.
Oh my gosh! I mean, so the Beatitudes, Jesus, the Beatitudes, Sermon on the Mount. What else can we say? I mean, we could just start there. What do you got?
What did he say? It's a hedgehog.
The shadow.
Oh, so cute. What's their name?
His name's Shadow.
Yes, I fucking win. I win.
That's so cute.
Yeah. So you'd say the Beatitudes on the Sermon on the Mount?
Correct. Yeah. That's just where my mind goes first.
And can you give me the passage for those?
Yeah. Here, 1 second. I believe it's in Matthew.
It is. It's Matthew chapter 5.
Excuse me. Yeah, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, pure in heart, peacemakers. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, such as.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what we have here, I'm gonna go put this guy back. I'll be right back.
Give Shadow a kiss for me. Oh shit. Cyber, puzzle piece. Cyber, hurry, puzzle piece. This Malakia.
This Malakia. But what we have is a case where Jesus is giving a bunch of things that seem to be good, right? And so we can go ahead and read some of these, right? And so we have, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs are the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are those that are meek, right? And we get all these things for they will see people, right? Blessed are the peacemakers, right? Blessed are the persecuted. But it seems like this is just God saying, hey, just be shills for God. But this isn't anything new that Jesus taught. Jesus isn't teaching anything new here. These are things that are still taught in the Old Testament. And then we learn when we read the Old Testament that, hey, if you're not doing these things, slavery.
Well, how is being a peacemaker being a shill for God?
Well, hold on.
Isn't that
When
just
we
something
read
that
this,
everyone should be?
well, he also mentions, though, to be blessed are the persecuted, right?
Yeah,
Right.
the
So
people
if
who,
you're
I
being
mean, yeah, because like for instance, the apostles, when the apostles were persecuted because of their faith, and they would then be blessed because regardless of their persecution, they persisted. So that's, I mean, that's not hard to wrap our heads around, right?
wait, say that again.
It's when he says that the persecuted, blessed are those who persecuted because of righteousness. It's, you know, for a good example would be the apostles when they are spreading the gospel. You know, they are, you know, spreading the message of Jesus, and you know, through their everlasting faith, they were persecuted all the way till their death. They brought that to the grave, and so they will be blessed because of that, because they persisted and they didn't back out. That's not hard to kind of wrap my head around.
But it does it through like othering people, right? So I think that's a bad thing. We shouldn't be othering other people. But I think some issues that we have is that Jesus also institutes thought crimes during the Sermon on the Mount, where you're now going to also be punished for thought crimes. Those get introduced on the Sermon on the Mount, right? And so like we learn these few things that you mentioned, but then we also read that now we're going to be punished for thinking. If you even think about committing adultery, whereas under the law, if you commit adultery, you actually have to commit it. But now on the Sermon on the Mount, now we're getting, if you even think about it, you're guilty. So we run into these other laws that are going in on the Sermon on the Mount. So while we can look at parts of the Sermon on the Mount and be like, yeah, this little part is good, these other parts not so good. And then the Sermon on the Mount, we also run into a big hypocrisy with Paul. Paul goes against the Sermon on the Mount. Paul doesn't support the Sermon on the Mount.
Okay, just one thing at a time. So
Yeah.
I think we just have to go maybe just one layer deeper when we especially when we are reading Jesus and his words. It's not, we can't take it, we can't just take this for surface value, or else we are definitely more so in that Pharisee mindset, for lack of a better term. You know, like you know, they were quick to condemn him because of their surface level understanding of the law. Therefore, that is why Jesus had to come to really make them understand the full true meaning of it. So when we look at the specific passage you brought up, or the specific area where you brought up where it you know, talks about adultery, where it's like, you know, you have heard it, he says, you know, if you have heard it said before that if you commit adultery, it's a sin or whatnot. And, you know, truly I tell you that, you know, the person who looks upon another with, you know, with lust, has already committed adultery in their heart, or something along those lines, right? I'm paraphrasing. So we have to take it a little bit of a layer deeper, because it's you know, it's really highlighting that Jesus is communicating to us that the law is not there, and these rules that he is proclaiming are not there to like get you into heaven, essentially. Right? So he is making it very, very abundantly clear. You hear that. You hear that, and your initial thing is like, man, a lust? Are you serious? Like, even if I think about somebody, you know, like that, I'm going to hell, like, or like, you know, that's a sin? Like, that's crazy. And Jesus is like, yeah, that is crazy, but that's not the point. The point is that your sins are not what gets you there. It's not what good works you do. It's not all of these, it's not you upholding the law. It's not you doing this or that. I'm giving you the guideline here because the Pharisees, they followed the law as if to be perfect. And this is who Jesus is really speaking to these people. And he's saying to them, if you truly want to be perfect, this is what that means. But the ultimate highlight here, and what Jesus is trying to convey to not only the Pharisees, but the Gentiles, is that you will never be perfect. You will never be perfect. And that's why he says, to be saved, you must profess that he is your Lord and Savior, that he is God. And that is the only thing that holds.
Yeah, but see, real quick, with that, I disagree. I think what this teaches, right, because the issue that I would have with it is, we have on the sermon, it rails against hypocrisy, duplicity, judgmentalism. Its highlights could be considered to be known in Matthew 7:12, and everything due to others as you would have them do to you. But I don't think it holds to this, right? So some things that we run into is like when we read it, Matthew 7:12, which is like the high point of the sermon. Matthew 5:20 is the sermon's organizing center. For I tell you, unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and Pharisees, as you brought up, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. But this is an issue. I think this is a big issue. This statement provides a concluding remark for the introductory section, chapter 5, 17 through 20, and explains what comes after it. This means the Sermon on the Mount is in large constructed upon negative otherings, like I mentioned, or stereotyping of rivals. In this case, specifically, the scribes and the Pharisees. The righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees provide a foil for higher righteousness of the sermon. Throughout the so-called anti-theists, Matthew chapter 5, verses 21 through 48, true righteousness is compared with counterfeit righteousness. The positive ethical affirmations are underscored by means of a contrast with their negative counterparts. For example, higher righteousness that refuses to look at a woman with lust is compared to a deficit righteousness that presumably thinks it is okay to look at someone with lust as long as one does not have physical sex with that person. We see that in Matthew 5, 27 through 28. Matthew 5:20 makes it clear that the Pharisees and scribes are the ones who possess the counterfeit righteousness. It is they who allegedly teaching ones to lust others, right? And then later we learn about practicing piety before others. Jesus also talks about continuing to give alms, do not sound trumpets before you as hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, Matthew 6:2. Who are the ones who do this? Again, Matthew 5:20 points out our collective finger squarely at the scribes and Pharisees. The issue with this is the scribes or Pharisees are pointed out in here, but it's really causing us to look at our fellow congregants. And not only our fellow congregants, but it forces us, well, mainly you as Christians, and one reason why we have so many denominations, it forces you as Christians to other Christians. It forces you to take a look at Christians within your own congregation and go, are they being scribes or Pharisees? They cause you to look at other peoples, whether it's myself as a Jew, whether you're looking at atheists or other people, and now you are putting yourself up on a pedestal and you're othering everybody else that doesn't meet this statue. And so I think that these are issues inherently flawed and found within the man, I got straw all over
that.
me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I 100% agree. I agree that would be damaging if you hold that interpretation of the scriptures. That's the sticky part we get into, is that unfortunately people see like these specific laws I'm just going to say rule or what, maybe I'm just going to take what Jesus said, right? I'm just focusing on what Jesus said. They kind of see that, and their interpretation of that scripture is, I need to be perfect, or I need to be held to this standard. And if I'm not held to that standard, or God forbid, I see somebody else held to that standard, like you were just, or not held to that standard, I'm sorry, not holding themselves to that standard, then it's, right for me to judge that person. That's where, Christians really get it wrong. That's where Christians really get it wrong. And so then I would point that person to the thief on the cross. So you're looking at the thief on the cross, who's obviously being condemned for some heinous crime. and he, is actually already mocked Jesus to his face. And then later on says, Lord, forgive me. Because, then he is convinced that Jesus is God in some way, shape, or form. And then Jesus says to him, truly, I tell you, you'll be in paradise with me today. So why,
I get that. Well, but I get that. But we're moving away from the thief, right? We're talking about the Sermon on the Mount, and I think what the Sermon on the Mount does.
No, I'm making a point. Can we slow down just for 1 second? I'm making a point. My point, you can bring up all that you want to bring up, but I'm trying to tell you that this is where Christians and other people who don't even consider themselves to be Christians can get it wrong, is that it is nothing to do, it has nothing to do with what you do. It has nothing that you do that is good or bad is going to, get you into heaven, quote unquote. It's just not going to.
Here's my question for you. Do you think that historically, whether it is the Christian treatment of the Jewish peoples because of passages such as the Sermon on the Mount, or how Christians treat each other because of the Sermon on the Mount, or how Christians treat other people who are not Christians because of the Sermon on the Mount, because now we are looking for these modern day Pharisees. We don't want to be these modern day Pharisees. Do you think that as a whole, do you think the Sermon on the Mount provides a net positive or a net negative for one, not only how Christianity looks optic wise, but for the influence that Christianity has had worldwide? And I want you to honestly take a minute and think about that. And do you think that the Sermon on the Mount is beneficial or net negative?
You're asking me as a Christian if I think that the Sermon on the Mount is beneficial. Of course I'm going to say yes.
And you don't think that there's been any harm in it? You don't think that there has been
if you read the Sermon on the Mount, if you read the Sermon on the Mount and you somehow can get harm from that, then all I could do is pray for you, honestly. It's saying blessed are the poor in spirit, essentially saying you are blessed if you are humble. It's telling you to be humble, those who mourn, those who are meek, those who are merciful, those who are pure in heart, those who are peacemakers. These are great qualities and traits.
But the sermon, as we read once we hit 5:20, requires us to other people. If you're not othering other people, then the Sermon on the Mount is pointless. It's useless. You are required to other people in order for the Sermon on the Mount to be beneficial.
Okay, by that standard, though, that's why I brought up the thief on the cross. If you're saying on verse 20, for I tell you that unless your righteousness surpasses that of the Pharisees and the teachers of the law, you will certainly not enter the kingdom of heaven. Do you think that the thief on the cross surpassed that of the Pharisees and the teachers of the law?
Well, you can't ask me that. I'm a mythicist. I don't even think the crucifixion happened.
All of a sudden I can't ask you that. No, because it just contradicts your argument there.
No,
we have to just
it
go
doesn't.
by. No. You're bringing up passages in the Bible. You're arguing the Bible against me. So you can't, just because it goes against what you're saying, you can't just pick and choose when you can use the Bible and when you don't want to use the Bible because you're a mythicist. No. Verse 20, it says, for I tell you that unless your righteousness surpasses that of the Pharisees and the teachers of the law, you certainly will not enter the kingdom of heaven. And if you proclaim that the thief on the cross surpassed that, then I don't know what to say, because obviously he didn't, and yet Christ allowed him into heaven.
Well, here's a question that I would have for you with the thief specifically. What was the thief on there for? Like, it says he was a thief, but I'm sure if we go look at the Greek for thief, it's going to have a long list of different things he could have done. Do you know what he was on there for?
I don't believe it specifically states.
Yeah, it doesn't. So my question then would be let's say he's on there, and let's say it is for stealing, right? Can you tell me, which one of these did he break that got him in trouble for stealing, right? Because he could have just literally been following one of these, and then Jesus is saying, hey, you're making it, right? So this doesn't have anything to do with the Pharisees and stuff. So I think it's kind of a non sequitur. But my whole purpose is that the whole point of the Sermon on the Mount is it requires us to other people. If you're not othering other people, the whole Sermon on the Mount's worthless. It's useless. It's garbage.
No, I'm gonna go right back to it. To be honest, you just said
Mhm.
you've conceded at least that he could be on the cross because of his thievery, because he was called the thief. Therefore, if you are a thief, do you think that your righteousness surpasses the Pharisees? If you are a thief, do you think your righteousness surpasses the Pharisees?
It could. What was the whole purpose of othering the Pharisees? What was the because that's important. What was the whole purpose of othering the Pharisees?
Can you just define othering for me, just so I'm clear as to what you mean?
Yeah, so othering is when we take a look at somebody else and we point things out about them that separates them from the group, right? So the idea, the whole purpose of the Pharisees is that the Pharisees were doing counterfeit righteousness, right? That's all the whole thing is these Pharisees, they're doing counterfeit righteousness, right? So for example, I'm Jewish. We wear tzitzits. I don't know if you're familiar with these. So tzitzits are these fringes, and make sure you can see these real quick. So there's these fringes that we wear on our clothing, right? Now in Ashkenaz, we wear these out. In Sephardic culture, they tuck them in. Now, the idea of living in unrighteousness is, so these mean something. Each of these knots means something. Each of these twists means something. Now, the Pharisees would intentionally make these like as long as they could, right? They'd have these things like dragging on the ground because they wanted to show their righteousness, right? So we're talking about like counterfeit righteousness, right? Where they're not actually they're speaking with their lips, but their hearts aren't there. Whereas somebody who is stealing, they could be stealing because they need to provide for their family. Maybe they are poor, but they need to provide for their family, and they just happen to get caught, and their punishment was crucifixion, right? But that has nothing to do with their righteousness or their not righteousness, especially when we're comparing them to what are quote-unquote counterfeit righteousness with the Pharisees, right? And that's what we're talking about, is they're pointing out the Pharisees because according to the New Testament, according to Matthew especially, the Pharisees are given this counterfeit righteousness air about them. That's how they're talked about, right? Like, it's not just a Sermon on the Mount. It's about how Matthew continually talks about the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the scribes. And the constant, consistent othering of them, right? So the Sermon on the Mount is only effective if we other people, right? And so when we're looking at church, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I would just argue that it's the Pharisees doing the othering, and that's why, and that's what Jesus was trying to highlight, is that it's the Pharisees and the Sadducees of that time that are actually doing the othering, and that's why the things were the way that they were.
No, they don't.
How are they not? If your fault, if they would totally, they condemned Jesus for
No, othering. So yes, the Pharisees were doing things to say, look at us. That's not othering. Othering is when you point to other people and you say, look at them. That's what othering is, right? So that's what Jesus is doing.
Look at them doing what though? Look at them doing
their counterfeit righteousness. That's his whole thing. Throughout all of Matthew, we get this, the Pharisees have this manufactured counterfeit righteousness, which is why when Jesus mentions them in the Sermon on the Mount, he's pointing them out. He's wanting to say, hey, you see those people over there? Don't be like them. Whatever they're doing, don't do it. It's bad. They're going to tell you to, if you're doing this, right? He's literally stating other people. When you see other Christians acting like the Pharisees, point it out. Don't be like that. That's what he's literally saying. Go other people. Go other people. Go point them out.
Yeah, I think it's pretty important to point out how the Pharisees were acting. That's completely valid to.
Then why don't you do it with your fellow Christians,
I
with all your
I would
40,000
100% will.
denominations?
Hanji,
If I
Hanji,
see a
that's the
Christian,
problem. That's the
if I
problem.
see a
It
Christian,
forces them to do
Ah.
it to the Hanji, that's the issue. It forces them. They do it. They take the Sermon on the Mount and they do other people, right? They may see somebody, and that's the whole issue. They may see somebody who's struggling with something, and what do? They other them. Instead of saying, hey, let's genuinely go help this person, they point to them and say, there's a modern day Pharisee. There's a modern day Pharisee. Right? That's the whole issue. That's the issue with the Sermon on the Mount is they do it to each other. And it's bad. They are quite literally when it says to go and blessed are the poor in spirit, for those that get blessed are those who mourn.
A little bit of lag, but yeah, you should be good now.
But yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
is
there we go.
Like Jesus gives these nice little things up there, and they make up like the very like first few verses of it, and then the whole rest of it. Literally, the whole rest of it is modern day Pharisees, and then teaching you how to go point out other modern day Pharisees. It's the whole thing, which is why, like I said,
so
when
Jesus definitely isn't coming because no one is like literally living a same truth. He's never going to come.
No, Jesus is just giving you the guideline. Jesus is giving you the guideline in which way to act. He's not telling you. If he was telling you to go judge other people, he would say that. He doesn't say explicitly like go and judge he says love thy neighbor as thyself. That's literally what Jesus says.
Well, that's what the scriptures say. That was already found in the Old Testament.
Yeah, I don't think Jesus ever existed.
Because the Pharisee had said to Jesus, you know, what is the most important commandment? And Jesus said the most important commandment is to love thy neighbor as thyself.
Right, but what I'm saying though is
which
that
you guys don't do.
What?
Right,
okay. Just because Christians don't do it, the Christians aren't God. We're not God. Okay, so
you're supposed to love your fellow man. I don't give a shit if you were worshiping Vishnu. You guys do not know how to handle and take care of each other. And other people who don't believe
it's funny
the way
because
you do.
it's bad when Christians do it, but when you do it, it's okay. No, but do you judge?
First of all,
do you judge?
I have every right to judge because first of all, I'm not under your Christian worldview. Second of all, I've never been Christian. Third of all, I'm Hellenic.
Well,
okay, so
we
it's
even
okay,
judge our own
for
gods.
you to do it, but because I'm not supposed to do it.
Yes, because it's hypocritical to your scripture. That's what you're not understanding.
That's the funny part is that we all literally the scriptures say we all fall short of the glory of God. Literally, that's the whole point.
Well, but the issue is though, right? Is that I'm looking right now because I just Googled it, and I just looked up Sermon on the Mount, modern day Pharisees, and I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm seeing like 10 searches right now that are about how to search for modern day Pharisees amongst Christians, amongst your neighbors. It's in there in the thing. That's what I'm talking about.
You're pointing out human fallacy. I'm not arguing for humans. I'm arguing for God.
The Bible was written by a human. What do you think?
I'm arguing for God. I'm arguing for God. I'm arguing for Jesus. I'm not arguing for human fallacy. I'm not arguing for that website that you just pulled up. That's not what I'm arguing for. You asked me. Now, if we go back a little bit, your original question was, point me to in the Bible what God has done that is good, and so we gave that example, and I don't think
it's good. I think it caused problems.
Sure. Okay, can we move on to this? I would love for you to try to pick this apart. How about the miracles that Jesus performed? How about healing the blind man?
Same thing that Asclepius did 2,000 years prior, well before Jesus was even a thought. You're talking about that miracle? That's literally a plagiarized story.
Yeah, well,
Or how
hold
about
on.
the baptism?
Hold on.
He
I
asked me
don't want
about
to
the
go.
Bible. He asked me
Yeah,
about the Bible, so I'm just talking about the Bible.
It's
Please.
yeah, I don't.
plagiarized.
Yeah, I don't want to go down. I don't want to go down that route. Where I want to go with this is, but what's the purpose? Like, what's the purpose of God performing these miracles? He tells us what the purpose of them are. What's the purpose of them?
I would, Jesus doing these miracles is to show the glory of God. That's the whole purpose.
It's to show the glory of God. Now, the issue is that we see about these good miracles, right? Healing men, those are good miracles. What about the miracle where God, because you mentioned miracles, we'll lump them in. When we look at the miracles of, say, when the Egyptians, the Israelites are at the Red Sea, and they're getting ready to cross the Red Sea. Pharaoh has already let them go. And God says, oh, hold on, Moses, you better hurry up and get them across because I didn't tell you this, but I hardened Pharaoh's heart again. I hardened his heart again, and he's going to come and stop you. But I didn't need to do it this time. He was really going to let you go, but I want to show my glory. Right? That's the issue with the miracles. God isn't doing them just out of the goodness of his heart. Jesus isn't just doing these miracles out of the goodness of his heart. The whole purpose of these miracles are for God's glory. It's for him. It's not for us. It's for him.
Dude, and that's amazing that you said that because you just got it. That's you're literally literally just hit the center of the target right there.
Uh-huh.
It's about him. It's not about us. That's what I try to tell people all the time, and that's why Christians can become hypocritical. That's why Christians can become as they are or anything like that, is because oftentimes we make Christianity about ourselves instead of about God.
Correct. No, that I agree with. But I think that when we're doing things just for us, right, or not for us, for him, when it's all about his glory, the issue that we have with this is, so you believe in the power of prayer, right? Because that's where a lot of these miracles come in. Do you believe in the power of prayer?
Absolutely.
All right. So when Jesus says, I'm going to go find the scripture. So if you believe in the power of prayer, because here's the issue that we run into. Are you familiar with John 14?
John 14:7?
It'll be John 14. And let's get the...
You'll have to read it.
Yeah, I'll get it brought up. So what this says is... And real quick, so you do have faith. You believe in the power of prayer. You believe in what Jesus says. And so what we're going to run into here is where he says, and we'll start in verse 8 because we have this break here. So we'll start. Philip said to him, Lord, show us the Father, and we will be satisfied. Jesus said to him, I have been with you all this time, Philip, and you still do not know me. Whoever has seen me has seen the Father. How can you say, show us the Father? Do you not believe that I am in the Father and the Father is in me? The words that I say to you do not speak on my own, but the Father who dwells in me does his works. Believe me that I am in the Father and the Father is in me. But if you do not believe because of the works themselves, very truly I tell you, the ones who believe in me will do the works that I do, and in fact will do greater works than these. So what kind of works did Jesus do? He did miracles, right?
Yeah, he performed miracles. He, helped people, showed compassion, lived a perfect life. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I am going to the Father, right? So he says, because I am going to the Father, I will do whatever you ask in my name. And this here, I want to make sure when we do this, we'll highlight whatever. We'll make sure we get
That's
this.
why we pray in his name.
Yep. So that the Father may be glorified. We'll put this in green so it matches the other one. if in my name you ask for me anything, I will do it. Yep. And then we'll put anything. We'll make this red. So where we get here is where Jesus is saying, very truly I tell you, the one who believes in me will also do the works that I do, and in fact will do greater works than these. So you'll be able to do greater works than what Jesus said. Now, Jesus walked on water. He calmed the storm. He told his disciples, hey, you guys, I didn't have faith in this fig tree, so I had to curse it because I couldn't make a plant grow on it. But you guys could throw a mountain in the lake. Because I am going to the Father, I will do whatever you ask, so that the Father may be glorified in the Son. If in my name you ask me for anything, I will do it. Now, you believe in the power of prayer, right? You said you believe in the power of prayer.
I do, yes.
All right. So I want you to do something for me, because this would convert. So right now over on YouTube, we have 62 people watching on YouTube. We have here on TikTok, we currently have 83 people here. So we have over 100 people watching right now.
I understand what you're trying to do. You're going to ask me to pray for something, and then if it doesn't happen, therefore it doesn't work, correct?
You have faith. I can't do it. And you mentioned that these miracles are to glorify God, right? You mentioned that you have faith.
If it's to glorify God, I mean, is what you're about to ask me to pray for really going to glorify God?
It will, because you will perform a miracle. You'll perform a miracle for over 100 people watching this, for almost 200's a stretch, but over 100 people that's watching this. It'll be, and so if you say this prayer, and I'll let you word the prayer however you want. The only condition that we need on this is that this cap, because I can do it. And look, I checked this. This is made out of aluminum. There's no iron in it. So God's not allergic to it because there's no iron in it. So you can say a prayer. You have faith. You believe in the power of Christ. You believe in the glory of God, in glorifying God. So if you pray to remove this cap, which again, I can remove one-handed. If you can take this cap off, well, not you, if God can take this cap off, you, my friend, will convert the masses that are watching this, and they will tell other people. In fact, double donkey Jesus in chat right now. I will convert if it happens, and he will change his name to lid taking off monster God. So let's see a miracle. Can you do this?
I don't think
You don't have
I'm
faith?
not. That's not glorifying God. That's not glorifying God. Taking the cap off of your monster can is not glorifying God in any way.
Look in chat. Double donkey is already praying. He already has his hands in prayer position. You can't leave double donkey Jesus.
I think this is, like, unfortunately where we kind of have to stop it, because we went from having a conversation to making a mockery.
It's not no. It's only a mockery.
No, it is a mockery, though.
If you think you can't do it.
You know what you're doing. I think we were having a good conversation. Unfortunately,
look at chat though. Look at chat though. Chat is ready. Chat is ready with bowed heads right now.
Yeah.
They're in the praying position.
I'm sorry. Do you understand? Like, is it not clear to you that this is just mockery? Like,
it's not mockery. It's not. God. Well, I mean, I'll bring it back up. Maybe I misread.
You're not stupid. And you know how you're setting this up?
Hold on, I'm making sure I didn't misread it. Hold on, shh. Very truly I tell you, the one who believes in me will do these works, and in fact will do greater works than these. Check. Because I am going to the Father, I will do whatever you ask in my name, so that the Father may be glorified. Check. in the name, or if in my name you ask me for
So that
anything.
the Father may
make sure
be
you ask.
glorified.
Make sure you ask. Make sure you ask in Jesus' name. That needs to be a second requirement. So we've got
So like I'll give
anything
you
or
an example. Like,
whatever.
so what will glorify God, like for instance, like, you know, we often take prayer requests in church, and you know, people are struggling with an illness, or people are you know, having a difficult time with their job, or if somebody truly needs help, then that would be a way in which we can pray for them, and then God can be glorified through helping them in their situation.
Let me ask you a question, because you're not going to do this, which is fine. I don't blame you for not having that faith. But my question for you is,
And there you
have
go with the mockery again. But that's fine.
have you ever prayed for the sick to be healed? For the sick to be healed, for there to be no more children specifically with cancer. Have you ever participated in a prayer like that?
I've participated in a prayer where one of our church members was extremely sick. Like recently, one of them was in the hospital, and so we gathered as a church and we prayed for them and for their health. And thankfully, they're doing much better now.
Okay, but that's not what I asked. Have you ever prayed?
That's what you
for
asked.
the
You asked me
children?
if
No.
I
asked
No,
the
he said
specific
children.
one.
No, you asked me if I participated in a prayer
Okay,
like
now
that,
no.
and that's what I
See,
just.
nope,
Yeah.
nope.
Hanji, you can mute
Cyber
again?
ashes.
Holy fuck.
I can mute again. No, host asked a specific question. He said, "Have you prayed for the sick children who are dying of cancer?" He didn't say anything about anyone in your Malakas church. He made a specific question that you, once again, are cherry picking around. So, have you prayed for all the sick children dying of cancer to be healed? It's a simple yes or no. You can unmute now.
Hanji, I am glad you got your powers back.
The first part of the question was, have you ever prayed for somebody, you know, who was sick, or who was, you know,
And then I qualified it with children in a cancer ward. So, have you prayed for children to be cured of cancer?
no, not specifically.
Has your church ever held
Shocker.
a prayer like that?
We've prayed, not we pray for specific things, so it's hard to pray. We don't like it. The way it kind of comes about is like when we pray, like as a church, it will be for like a mission partner, and then we will also pray as a church for like a member who's like seriously struggling, and then we do like smaller kind of prayer gatherings, I would say, like in Sunday school and blah blah blah, and on our Wednesday night Bible studies for specific situations, you know, like if somebody is having an issue and stuff like that. So that's, you know, but as a whole church, and like what you were saying, then it's on a like specific, but it's on a higher scale.
Yeah, but wouldn't curing it, and Chaos Engine brings up a good point. Wouldn't curing child cancer, be like a specific enough thing?
Oh, absolutely.
So let's do this. Let's take this a bit more serious. I'll admit the monster can kind of mocking, but let's do this. Let's do a prayer, and we will have all of chat bow their heads both on YouTube and TikTok. And now TikTok's starting to get up there in numbers. We will bow our heads, and I will let you say the prayer however you want, but we need childhood cancer cured tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
So you want me to give God an ultimatum? Is it okay if I pray? Is it okay if I just pray for the health of children with cancer?
Well, he does say, and we'll make this big for you. Make sure I'm not misreading something. that's not big enough yet. I believe this says whatever and anything. So whatever and anything, I will do it. I will do whatever you ask to glorify the Father. Anything, whatever, I will do. So if we could just ask, if you can hold Jesus to the promise he made. I mean, if Jesus is a liar, if you're going to say Jesus lied and Jesus can't do this, then I'm okay with that. Now I will accept that surrender. I can accept you saying Jesus can't do it.
I don't think
or you
it's,
can
it's
say,
not that. I think that when you understand, all right, let's have this conversation first. And I have no, I just want to be clear that I don't have any problem like praying for sick children, but I think
do it
that
then.
it's important to.
We'll just do it then.
Yeah, let's have a conversation. And so
He's
How
not going to
does
do it,
how all of a
guys.
sudden he can't pray for children with cancer? Crazy.
you know what's crazy is that I literally just said if you open your ears, you can hear me, and I just said that
honey, let's get one thing perfectly clear. You're not going to talk to me as if I'm a fucking infant because I am older.
Well, you're doing the
so
same
let's
thing
get
to
that
me.
clear.
You're doing
no,
the same thing to me.
You're being disingenuous and you're being a little fuckwad. Okay, so let's get that clear. It's kind of funny how all of a sudden you have an issue. You can laugh with your nervous laugh. All that. Yes, you are. Now I'm not done speaking. You can stay mute until I'm done.
Mr. Vice President.
I think it's kind of funny. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. I'm a Marxist and a communist. Your political comments don't mean shit to me. Now, with that being said, I think it's kind of funny how you have a certain issue with praying for innocent little children. But I have no issue. You do, because you literally pussyfooted around, host, and wanted to go back into a discussion. Stop talking.
Wow.
So
now I find it ironic that I am able to light an incense in my altar. Yes, because you don't have self-control and shut up for 5 seconds. I'd be a lot quicker if you would stay mute. I find it funny how you cannot do that on a live stream. But every night I am lighting candles and incense, asking my gods to take care of innocent suffering, whether it's rape, harassment, and cancer. And I have no problem saying that on a live stream because the majority of the people here know that I'm not a fucking atheist.
Wait, hold on, Hanji.
But I find it funny that I'm able to do that, but you can't do that.
Hold on, Hanji, I got this. I've seen what is it, the 700 Club. Listen, chat, YouTube,
700.
both chats. I need $5,000. If we could just get $5,000 donated to Joel Reed's Bible, we need $5,000. Then God, through Jake, can heal this boy. But we need $5,000. Joel's hotline, Joel's pay accounts in his profile are available right now. They're open. They're waiting for you. Just $5,000 to Joel Reed's Bible. And we can get this prayer off the ground.
Do you?
I
have no problem praying for anything, but you have to acknowledge that you're asking me to do this prayer not really for the real intention. You're asking me to do this. No, you're asking me to do this prayer to literally try to make a mockery in the fact that if I pray this prayer and all of these children, no, you're setting it up to where if I, just like the monster can, bro, if I prayed and the monster can lid didn't come off, then that means that the power of prayer just doesn't work. So that's why you're asking me to do it. That's why you're asking me to do it. You're not really asking me to genuinely pray for these people. You're literally asking me just to prove a point. And you know it to prove a point.
It is to prove a point.
Yeah. So when you, that's why you guys need to look yourselves in the mirror and know that
every day.
So hold on. So the points that I'm proving is one, the Sermon on the Mount doesn't mean anything, right? It just others other people. It forces Christians to be horrible people to each other. Two is that when you go to talk about the other good things that Jesus does, like miracles, they're not good things, right? When you look at some of the good things, like this healing of this man, it is only a healing that Jesus does to potentially get the glory from that one man, to get that one person to worship. But when it comes to being able to cure cancer, you can't do it. You won't do it. You don't have the faith. You
I
can't
will
and you
do it.
won't do it.
Can I please? I mean, I'm being muted like every single second. I would love to do it right now because
Oh, disconnected. Yeesh. Yeesh.
I mean, it wasn't that hard. He wanted to filibuster. He wanted to move the goalpost instead of doing the Malakas prayer. You know what? Chat, cyber,
I don't know.
bound
I
your
don't know what
hands
happened.
together, and let's go ahead, and I will do it, seeing as he was too
Well, I just want to
pussycat
make
do
sure.
it.
Hold on. I just gotta make sure first. Joel, did you get $5,000 yet? Because we can't do this until Joel gets $5,000. I don't know what's going to happen with this $5,000, but we just need $5,000 first.
All right, so YouTubes, if you can hear me, chat, cyber, Omega Diaz, Asclepios, Aphrodite, Hera, Demeter, Hestia, Terra, Nyx, Selene. When it comes to the innocents that are working around this world, walking, suffering, may you bring kindness to them. May the cancer that eats away at them cease to exist. May world hunger cease to exist. May humanity come together as a whole, regardless of religious background. For we are just one species. United, we are stronger. Apart, we are weak. I ask you to guide us through this, for we see everything that is going on in the world right now, and I hope that you are able to open the eyes of everyone, guide them to truth, guide them to learning to not only love and respect each other because empathy is free, but also to make the suffering stop for the innocents. And I know it is not something you can do overnight, and I'm not asking you to. But please take into consideration that there are people that truly need help, but their voices are going unheard. Efkaristo, Seagapo. Is that so hard? Is that so fucking hard? Cyber, you're muted.
Thank you. Sorry, I turned my. How are you doing, Rav? It's been a hot minute since you've been up here.
It's been a while, but Hanji, like you just like it's 100%. I mean,
Thank you.
yeah.
So
I think and say it every day. I'm not even talking out my ass. Like the unnecessary suffering needs to fucking stop.
Well, it
does.
sounded
So-
like something you have said to yourself in a multitude of ways at a multitude of times.
Mm-hmm.
It's great to see
Yeah.
both of you. Sorry, it's been a while.
You
I missed
you
you,
too.
Bart.
You've been busy. Oh, but I know you commented, but look.
Oh yeah, that's great. Are you reading it personally, or are you reading it like how are you? What's your methodology? What are you doing?
So I'm just reading it. I'm not following the proper schedule, but yeah, I just Well, first of all, I'm still fanboying off of all the charts and stuff in the back.
Oh, nice.
So I do have a question. We got Passover right around the corner. When can I schedule to come to your place with a blowtorch for your kitchen?
Well, you would be too late because Passover started last night.
Oh, you are right. You are.
Oh, it did.
See, this is so. Listen, this is what happens when you work so much and you realize that it is the 13th, so it did start.
Womp.
Womp.
It's okay. You're never too late, you know. And also, there's a fun biblical holiday called Pesach Sheni for the people who are not ritually ready. It's a month later, so I've always wanted to have like a congregational barbecue in the middle of May for Pesach Sheni.
I'll go
Also,
for the food.
I have a very close friend who I celebrated Greek Easter with like almost every year for like 7 years. And Greek Easter and Passover, it's honestly it's like a better Passover, frankly. And like full
You
lamb
gained 50
roast.
pounds.
Oh, that's like on a light weekend. Um, like full lamb roast. People are walking up, eating, like taking bread and just ripping pieces of meat off of the animal over the open flame.
The fire pit.
And the amount of alcohol, like I'm sure that I left just like just left, half drank glasses because people keep handing you drinks. Yamas.
And then they bring out the cake, and whoever has the coin in their cake is blessed for the year.
Thank goodness.
So real quick, so I'm going to bring up the next guest. They're going to be on Video Ninja, so you two will be able to hear them. You just won't be able to respond to them. Guests, they're going to be on Video Ninja, so you two will be able to hear them. You just won't be able to respond.
Whoa.
Steven, can you get an earbud in? I'm hearing my echo. I need you to have an earbud.
I think the lowest pitch of Tartarus heard that.
I think none of us have any ears, bud, anymore.
What's up?
So, Steven, come back. I kicked Steven because I'm like, come back once you have your earbud.
Steven, come back.
Steven!
You can blame it all on Simon.
So baby, come back.
There we go.
I think we're showing our age here.
Yeah.
Look, I showed my age the other days when my kids were watching the new
What's up?
DuckTales. Oh,
Can you,
Steven.
can you hear me now? Yo,
This is the voice from Mount Olympus.
can you hear me now?
Do you have earbuds? Do you have earbuds?
I don't, man. I'm sorry. Is it that bad?
It is. Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can turn it down a little bit. Or let's see.
Echo.
Yeah, echo cancellation is on.
And was it still echo?
It is.
We're actually experiencing two multiverse universes coming together.
Yes, they're colliding.
Yes. This is how B theory of time works when one of them is traveling at the speed of light. So come back up once you get some earbuds. We're not going to be able to do it if you don't have earbuds. So yes, if you are coming on to Video Ninja, one of the requirements is to have earbuds. That way then we don't have echoes. But yeah, so that's how I imagine the B theory of time works. With like all points in time are just equally real, but the faster you go, the shorter time travel, so we just get echoes.
You know what? I love that you say that because my friend brought up a point that I found super interesting. You know me. I'm spiritual. I'm very superstitious. I mean, all three sides of my bloodline are superstitious as fuck, but I digress. A friend of mine brought up a really interesting theory. She said that what if the ghosts that we see and the things that we hear, is not actually ghosts at all, but a timeline morphing into ours for that moment and then separating again. Like timelines are just colliding.
Hanji, we got to stop talking about timelines. That's how we get the flat earthers coming in here.
God damn it, you're no fun.
Well, right here in Genesis, it says Rakia. And that means a crystalline dome.
But Eddie's right, time dilation echoes from the past. Double Donkey, don't do that to me because that's a rabbit hole I will jump headfirst into.
So, anyways, while we don't talk about the ice walls.
Can I show you what I built on Minecraft while we're waiting?
Yeah, while you're waiting, and while we're waiting for him to show us that, let's go ahead and keep tapping that screen, sharing the live. If you are over on YouTube and you do want to join the discussion, type in the link tinyurl.com/cyber-guest. We can bring you up over on Video Ninja. Everybody will be able to hear you. We can have this conversation. The only people that won't be able to interact with you will be Rav and Hanji. They will not be able to interact with you.
I built a third temple.
Oh,
You
Solomon's
did build
temple right there.
Yeah. I saw. I'm like, look, it's a temple.
Also,
I can only imagine how long that
while
took.
I'm over here, I built a fully scaled model of Frank Lloyd Wright's Falling Water as well.
Nice.
This is my magnum opus. I mean, this is absolute. But here, hold on. I'll go inside. Give you the holy of holy tours.
The fact that you were able to recreate that in that pain of an ass of a game.
I'm starting Herod's temple. So there's the menorah. I decided to do a little artist license, put a shin up there. And you got the showbread. Let's go. Holy of holies time. Sorry, I'm doing this through my phone.
With the cherubim.
I made the cherubs kind of like a lion, sort of a sphinx sort of thing.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm jealous of your Minecraft building space.
Well, I just started 3 weeks ago, so I'm hoping to get better.
3 weeks ago? Hold on. Time out. I know people that have been playing that shit for years, and they're not even close to that type of architecture.
Rav. So, one of our fellow Jewish brothers over on TikTok, Tenebrous Sint, said, you forgot the. Let me make sure we got this. You forgot the Jewish lasers. We gotta control that weather from there.
So it's funny you say that. I also made a Star Wars roller coaster. Hold on, let me. Here's the X-wing. The X-wing right there. And then there's the Death Star down here firing the laser. And then I made a Star Destroyer. And then, hold on, see if I can get there.
not Bert having a switch.
It's just a baby. The bird got raptured. Ding dong, Yahweh's calling. Excuse me, Adonai. Sorry.
Hashem.
Oh, that's how you. Hashem. My bad. I'm still learning.
Adonai is okay. You're not going to get in trouble for Adonai.
But is that what you guys call him? Hashem?
It just means the name.
Oh, so what does Adonai mean?
It's like the modern day Adonai.
Oh,
Well, while we are
okay.
waiting, let's keep tapping that
That's
screen,
funny.
sharing the live. If we don't get somebody coming up here within the next few minutes, I'll probably be calling it a night. We did go kind of long with that last guest.
Don't run from the Lord. I just think of that vine every time I see that car.
Did he just drop? Oh, there he is. There. I'm like, did Rabbi just drop?
What is that?
It's the TIE fighter.
Oh,
We'll see. You see the X-wing, right?
you're such a
the
nerd. I love it.
and see the X-wing, that are the Israelites, and you see that TIE fighter there. Depending on what TIE fighter that is Goliath.
It's a standard Imperial, no problem.
Oh, that's just a Philistine soldier then. But that Death Star though, that's Goliath.
This is diabolical.
In the Death Star, I put Darth Maul and 2 stormtroopers also. So
I would rename him Darth Dawkins. That's one you need to. Never mind.
Darth Dawkins has been making his way into our lives, but he hasn't been going on to panels. Like, I almost wonder if like the alimony's caught up on him anymore, and he can't afford any more ass whoopings.
Damn.
Not Gary. Like, all he does is come up and whine and tries to run pre-sup, and then gets mad when you don't let him pivot.
He figures because he has all his little disciples, false idol worship, by the way, doing the precepts and tag arguments for him, he feels he probably doesn't need to anymore.
Yep. But anyways, I'll be right back. We're probably gonna get ready to end it here shortly, but I'll go grab my hedgehog again real quick, so I'll be right back.
Shadow! Bring the shadow. Bring the shadow. Shadow, shadow, shadows. A little shadow? A little shadow. Oh, shit. I thought I was mute.
All right. Here he is.
Look at the shadow, baby! A shadow!
If he stays facing that way, you guys are probably gonna see him make a deposit.
Good. Oh, okay. See you later, love. Thank you for coming up. Hi, Shadow. Hi. Oh my goodness. I wish he could hear me. He's so goddamn cute. You will, Rav. You will. Hey, BB. Is he shitting on your hand?
Yeah, he got me.
I'm telepathically telling him to. Yeah. That's my son. Shadow.
So they eat. So he has an actual special food that I get him. A lot of people try to feed them cat food. As a matter of fact, let me get my background here changed real quick. Since we are going to After Dark. So they a lot of people try to feed them cat food. Cat food's not necessarily the healthiest thing for them. So he has a special food that is made for him by other hedgehog breeders that's made up with various bugs and other stuff that they actually eat in the wild. So hopefully it'll be healthier for him. He did make a deposit. He made a 100%, a 200% deposit on my hand.
That's my boy.
So, anyways, you all have a fantastic evening. I am going to call it here. Will do. But I'm going to call it here. You all have a fantastic evening, and I will see you all tomorrow night.
Plug in, log on.